welcome to the QUACKCAST. This is QUACKCAST number 445. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Baines. Hi, Baines.
Hello.
So,
hi, everybody.
Hi. This week we're going to talk about copyright, and all the problems involved in that. Well, a very broad kind of overview, and then we'll sort of, do our own thing because there's only so much you can talk about with copyright. It's pretty straightforward. And I don't want to talk about really specific examples because, that might tread on some people's toes, which I don't want to do. Okay. Before we get into copyright and the listener, first we want to do the featured comic. So the featured comic this week was Stunlock. So here I am talking about Stunlock. I'm Ozone, and my feature this week was Stunlock. What do you get when you're caught stealing from a humorless paladin? Why pretend you're a tax collector for the IRS? That's the strategy of the clever thief Oedipus Bull. This canard goes on for a while and then collapses in a disastrous fashion along with Oedipus's face. You'll see what I mean when you read it. This is a pixel art comic, meaning it's made with hand-drawn, pixelized characters and backgrounds, rather than pre-made copyright stuff used for a sprite comic. Stunlock is a comedy spoof fantasy story. I hope you enjoy it. I found it quite amusing. It starts off quite tight, then gets a bit looser, and the art style changes a bit as it goes on, but it's still pretty decent. I especially like the earlier pages, and the story has not advanced that far. It's still going on, and you can very easily get into it. The artist is named Salexander. The comic's rated T, and he's previously done sprite comics, and I think this is his first proper pixel art comic, so enjoy that. Okay, I hope you like Stunlock, so read it. And that was the featured comic, Stunlock. Okay, so after
Stunlock.
Such a cool name, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
How these people come up with it, and then it's their name. They copyright it. I don't think you can copyright a title. That's interesting.
They do it, and then they own it.
Yeah, you cannot copyright a title.
That's right. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. Okay, so next up we have the featured music. Gumballis gave us the theme to Dragons in Civilized Lands.
Ooh, another intriguing title.
Yeah, Civilized Lands. Okay, so this music is compelling, foreboding, panoramic. An epic landscape is slowly revealed below as you swoop on down through the grey clouds. The view spreads wider and wider. Cold mountains rear vast stretches of ice fields, patchwork fields, and a huge carpet of forest. Past the occasional fort on a high hill, we narrow in on a clash between two brightly armored hordes. Bright crimson flecks the shiny armor, brightly colored pennants wave in the wind, horses snort, men shout and scream. All fades to black.
Nice.
Take it away, Dragons in Civilized Lands by Gumballis. And that was the featured theme. Gumball gave us 2 Dragons in Civilized Lands. The comic is by Robert R. Veith, and it's rated T. And there'll be a link to it in the notes. Alright.
Awesome.
So, copyrights and you. Let's see if I can talk about this without falling asleep. Not because it's boring, but because it has been a long day.
Very late at night where ours is.
Very. Alright, so copyright, interesting. So copyright and you, as a creator and like a writer, artist, whatever, you need to know a bit of copyright because that is your stock in trade. That protects your business. Or, even if it's not a business, you do it as a fun thing, you do it as a hobby. You still, I'm sure you don't want someone taking your work from you and making money out of it, and you're not getting anything out of that.
Yeah.
So, that's what copyright is for. It's for protecting your work, which could be copied infinitely, and not only like copying and pasting by copying and downloading the files, it can be copied by drawing it. Because, it's an image and anyone can redraw that. So, that's how it can be copied and reused. And copyright protects you against that. It's automatic. You get it when you create something. You don't have to send away letters or forms or anything like that or pay money. Things are automatically copyrighted. And, yeah, it's supposed to do that. And I have these micro sleeps at the moment where suddenly I'll go off on another tangent. I was just about to do that. I was thinking about, oh yeah, you got to photograph your stuff and you're supposed to do it on a white background. Yeah. No, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Oh, no.
Oh, geez. Okay, so yeah, copyright. You do not have to send away and, date envelopes and all this kind of stuff, get postage marks like you had to do in the old days and register it with the copyright board. In the old days, that's what you had to do. And copyright was different in different countries. It took a long while for the countries to come together and have a more universal system. So someone could copyright in something in one country and not copyright in another. And because it wasn't copyrighted, say, in Britain, someone else could copyright your work and make money off it. That's what they could do. Like people used to be able to do with patents as well. That happened. People make a big deal of what's his name, Edison taking advantage of various patents, but he did that through the courts. So he did it in a pretty legitimate way. So someone like Tesla is brought up as a sort of a hero in that, and what he actually did, he made money when he first came to the States by repatenting some old European patents that no one had a patent for in the States, and he just stole the patents. So, wow. The good guy, yeah, well, heroes have Peter Clay. So, yeah, he actually did the stuff you accused Edison of. So, there we are. Bridget. Anyway, so that same kind of thing happened with copyright. All right, so eventually we had the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which happened around about 2000, which means all the countries agreed to it pretty much, that when you create something, it's automatically copyrighted, and that lasts for about, I don't know, I think it was initially 50 years, and then it just kept getting longer and longer until it's like up to 75 or something. And the rumor is that Disney was behind that because they want to protect their old movies, because the company's been around so long. They not only do they still want to make money out of their old stuff, they want to keep on doing new versions of it, reboots or whatever, or merchandising. And if they lose copyright, then they're going to lose a lot of money because everyone else is going to do those as well. So, yeah.
Right.
That's apparently one of the reasons why copyright got extended. I don't know. It could be a myth that Disney was directly behind it, but they do benefit from it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Disney's dead, basically. Walt Disney's dead, and that's who the copyright belongs to.
Oh, I think I need that.
They're frozen somewhere. No.
That's right, he is, yeah.
Well, copyright is tricky. It's not the same as trademark. Registered trademark, all that kind of stuff. It's a different thing. which
So
costs
a
money.
registered trademark is like an image or a character?
I don't know.
Or
I can't tell
how
you,
does that
so I'm not
work?
going to talk
Not
about
sure.
it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look it up myself.
Yeah, it's something you have to know about. All right, if you want to talk about it. Okay, so that's why copyright came up. There's some things you cannot copyright. Fashion designs, titles, work that's in the public domain. You can't copyright it unless you do your own very specific version with a lot of changes. Other people's work, now you can't copyright it.
Yeah, that's crazy that people were able to do that. Yeah, to copyright other people's stuff and
Yeah, it happened.
benefit from it. Yeah, awful.
So that's
The
one
rock and
thing.
roll sign that you make with your fingers. Can you copyright that?
No.
No. Gene Simmons tried to. That's why I bring it up.
I think what happens is that there's a lot of reasons why you can't copyright stuff, but I think with that is it's not just protecting the finger signs, it's the fact that it's diluted. So many people use it that
Yes.
it's, everyone's got it, so you can't really protect against it anymore because, it's generic.
You hear that, Gene? Knock it off.
Generic? Bloody makeup face douche. So that's one of the things. Alright, so there's limitations, satire, and parody. This is an interesting subject.
Yeah.
I'll just read out what I wrote. There are some limitations to copyright. It will eventually expire as you die, like I've said. There are many old movies and stuff you can see online free because copyright has expired from. So you can just download them off YouTube or special movie sites and stuff like that. And these are legal to watch, unlike the old illegal ones. The reason for this is so we don't... the reason copyright expires is so we don't lock up our culture. Things can be used and changed freely and all contribute to the cultural conversation once all the money has been successfully extracted from them.
Yeah.
So you make your money out of it and then it can become part of culture. Okay. But there are some shortcuts to get around that. If something's not out of copyright, you can still use it through satire and parody. Under the definition of those, you can include parts of a copyright work in your work, and as long as you're making some sort of comment on those things. So you have to comment on it. You can't just copy the X-Men. There has to be some reason you're using it.
Yeah, it's funny, and interesting to me. I know some people in the sort of in the film industry and stuff like that, and I was surprised and interested to learn it's way harder to get a song or part of a song just to use. Not difficult as much as just it can be really expensive to get permission and then to pay for the rights to use a little song in your show or movie than it is to outright parody something. If it's in the spirit of parody and comedy, then you can use a ton of stuff. If you have a whole episode based on it or a whole kind of sequence as a parody of something, then that's protected. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. The problem is with parody is that there are no specific rules about it that say, okay, this is parody and this isn't parody, or this is satire and this isn't. So...
Right. You need a lawyer to tell you.
Yeah, even then it's not really written out. So what happens is, even if you do a full parody of something, you can still find yourself in hot water and get sued, and your parody is sort of not allowed to be used anymore because there is no specific definition to that in the law. You can do a parody, but it doesn't say, okay, there's only 50 lines worth, or 2 pages, one character's name. There's no sort of kind of a list about that, which is worrying. Did I just go off and talk about something else?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
But this is why my movie that I tried to make called Spider-Man exclamation point got shut down. It's complicated to go into, but it was something along those lines.
Well, do you know what I think one of the reasons they did so many different versions of Spider-Man is so they could just corner all the copyright.
Well, sort of. I mean, these are intriguing like cases kind of in this world where like that property was created. I mean, going all the way back to his creation, like, you know, created by Steve Ditko in large part, and Stan Lee technically, but kind of unclear. Seems like Steve was really the creative force, but Steve Ditko was either a work for hire or it's ambiguous, kind of like what rights he had to be credited as a creator. Later, they sold the rights to Spider-Man. Marvel Comics did when they were struggling to, you know, Sony or to whoever. So Sony now owns the rights. If people follow these Marvel movies, they might know some of this stuff. The Spider-Man movies were being made by Sony and had to be made, pardon me, within a certain time frame, because if they don't have a movie in production by a certain time, like every 3 years or whatever it is, then the rights will revert back to Marvel. So this is why Sony had to keep making movies. And then there was sort of another deal that was made to allow Spider-Man to appear in Marvel movies for a few of them. Pardon me.
It's not just Spider-Man.
And now he's, I think, going back to Sony. Like, Sony has taken him back over. So that's what we know so far. So it's a crazy, complicated thing with that character.
Yeah, but it's also the X-Men and Incredible Hulk. I think that had the problem as well. So
Hulk still has the problem. He's owned by Universal, I think.
Yeah.
But Marvel was able to use, and that's a complicated one too. Like, someone has the movie rights, someone else has the TV rights, and there's just a mess of permissions and like rights that different parties have. The X-Men and Fantastic Four were in a similar situation with Fox. Now, of course, Disney bought Fox, so that now they're all owned by Disney. But yeah, Spider-Man and the Hulk are the only like kind of outliers that I know of. I think that's why one of the reasons that they haven't made a Hulk movie since the early. X-Men, Fantastic Four. They're now owned by Disney again, so we'll see them remade by Marvel Pictures
again. So I remember someone commented, like, there was meant to be someone commented about saying, "Oh, there's going to be a Princess Bride remake, and it's terrible because it's one of the perfect films." I think the Princess Bride actor commented that, and someone commented on a post about that on Facebook saying, "Oh, I'm just waiting for the next time they do a remake of a remake," and I made a comment like, "You mean, I don't know, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman?"
Yeah,
pretty much.
I can't wait. You won't have to wait too long. To give it a couple weeks. Something will come out.
They've done remakes of remakes. That's not a funny statement. That's the reality we live in.
There's an infamous, if you're really into this stuff, like there's sort of an infamous Roger Corman production of Fantastic Four that was made, and it's out there as bootleg DVDs. I don't know if they ended up doing an official release, but for a long time, like, it was made, but they never meant to release it. It was just made to hold on to the Fantastic Four rights. And I've seen clips of it. It actually looks pretty good and pretty like comics faithful in a way. Low budget, but
yeah, it seems the director and the actors and stuff didn't get the memo that it was just rubbish. So they did a good job.
It was a serious production, yeah.
Just the effects weren't that great.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's all sort of done last. Traditionally, that was done after everything else was done. It might still be done that way.
They're out of money. Yeah. Friday the 13th is another one that has a sort of very complicated thing going on. I don't know if it's been resolved.
Okay.
But there's because of how much time has gone. I mean, that's just part of it too, right? Like, these properties now last for so long. And there's such an interest now in sort of reviving formerly successful things to try to squeeze more money out of it, out of nostalgia and out of familiarity, out of these brands, that all this time goes by, and that these sort of copyright laws come into play a lot more, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Friday the 13th has been bought and sold, and multiple companies own things. Like one, I think Paramount still owns the Friday the 13th title, but another, I think it's maybe New Line, Universal, or is it New Line, whatever, who owns the name Jason and a lot of the details of that character. And now enough time has gone by that the original writer of the original movie now possibly has a claim to the elements that were in the original movie. So it's a crazy. I don't know how it resolved and how it shook out, and they haven't made a new one in years. But that's a fascinating, bizarre, just mess of different rights owners and like who owns this thing and all that stuff.
Which is interesting because we're talking about movie rights and that kind of stuff, which is copyright that is sold or licensed. So these are kind of things you can do with copyright in order to make money of it and to protect your creation. So licensing means you can parcel out bits of it. So you can have rights, like you were saying, to film, to comic, to books, to games, and those are separate, completely separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it does get, as soon as there's money, it's a money thing. Obviously, it gets just so much more complicated. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, you own, like you said at the beginning, you own what you create as soon as you create it. Now, if the act of creation means you've copyrighted.
Yes. It's you don't have to send it away or whatever. All right.
Naked waitresses are owned by Ozone Ocean and me, by the way.
Yeah, they're kept in a basement, but that's for another time.
And we have contracts with them.
Exactly. All right, so I mentioned parody and how that's actually not as rock solid a defense as it should be. Disputes. If you create something while you are working for a company, the company tends to own that copyright. So if you want to put all your passion into something and create something wonderful, don't do it on company time, right? That's not a good idea. Salaried workers, freelance, it can depend. If you have to have a contract that addresses it though. So try and get one. Generally, if you're working for someone, like we say, work for hire, they retain the copyrights if they wanted you to do something, like a photographer, something like that. Now, in photography, it's a bit different. Photographers are a bit more canny with their licenses, so they'll tend to let people, do work. I've sort of lost my thread again. I'm tired. What did I say about licenses?
About photography.
Okay, so the
stronger rights.
Normally, what you have with this kind of people working for someone else, you who are the paying client, you own the copyright, unless there's a contract. Photographers usually always make it so they own the copyright to whatever they do. And if you pay for 500 prints or whatever, you're only paying for that. Or, you'll actually negotiate a license separately. So the photographers usually own 100% of the rights to the original photo. Which can be unfortunate sometimes, because if you paid for them to be done, you'd expect to own it, because that's what it is like and work for hire. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, so there's that.
Music used to be well known to be really good at, at least as far as royalties. And I'm thinking, maybe am I just thinking Canada or US as well? Anyway, I always used to hear that they were really lucky, like, songwriters and rights holders of music would always get paid reliably.
Oh, right.
Of course, then the music industry has been kind of the first to fall apart in the modern age with the, music being given away and being taken for free online before anything else really was.
Yeah,
On a massive level. So I don't know how that works now.
a huge problem. All right, so huge, and I'm not awake enough to be able to properly discuss it. All right, so
I wish I had stronger opinions that were controversial. I could get away with them all right now. I was just so tired.
You could just walk over the top.
I don't really. Yeah.
Right, so there's a power imbalance. So copyright depends on your ability to defend it, which means if you don't defend your copyright, then it can be taken away from you. In that someone else will do something with the same name or the same look, same sort of design of the character, and if you don't send them a cease and desist order, what will happen is the thing that you want to copyright can sort of become more generic because everyone's doing a version, so you can't really copyright it anymore. That can happen. That's on the extreme. Or if it's just, what was I talking about again?
Defending it depends on money. How much money you have to defend it.
Okay, my brain was taking me into the realms of wrestling. I was going to start thinking about wrestlers, and
I'm glad you stopped yourself.
Yeah, it's whoa. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. This head is. Oh, this is weird. Okay. I swear, I had one beer tonight and a couple Baileys. So it's not that I'm drunk. It's just that I'm freaking tired. Alrighty. Okay.
The brain is hanging upside down.
It is. It is.
Copyright.
I'm in Australia. Okay, so copyright. Copyright.
Read that song. Copywritten. Ramones.
All right. So, yeah, your copyright depends on your ability to defend it, and copyright can become sort of too generic to bother defending.
Could I copyright the idea of boy meets girl?
Definitely, Baines. Definitely.
Sweet.
Do it now.
Rich. Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
What can happen is that so there's a power imbalance. So whoever's got more money can afford to sort of go to the courts, be stuck in the courts longer, and sue you for a lot more and pay lawyers and that kind of stuff. So that can be an issue. There might be like institutions about this that will hide your work. Or not hide your work. They will help you defend it. So that's a very, very good kind of volunteer system. You want to be in on that. Right. Great.
I wonder how often this happens with regular people, like not in a company situation, but
it does.
People taking somebody's comic or somebody. No, I'm sure it does. Of course, it does.
Probably surprising how often it does, but
imagine.
Right.
It's so easy to grab images and
Yeah, and make money of them by putting on shirts and stuff.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So there's a grey area to copyright, which is fan art, and also the commissioned work you see in a lot of conventions. So that's where there's a great big character that someone's created, and they're making money of it. They're sort of doing their sketch cards or whatever, or alternate comic book covers. And they'll make money of it on a one-on-one kind of situation because, people will pay them to do it, and then they get the copy, and, they don't do photocopies or anything like that. So, yeah, that's one way of making money off someone else's copyright. And also just fan art, which is not paying money for anything and not spending it. It's just that, you got a fan art. What was I talking about again? Not making money of work. You're just doing fan art. Okay. All right. So there's reasons that those are grey areas, right? So that copyright holders don't go after you for doing this. Okay. So reason one, with fan art and commissions, basically it's free publicity to the creators of the work. It spreads recognition and goodwill towards their creation. So a smart company will allow it. But there are limits. You can't be putting it on T-shirts and making too big a thing of it. And also, your art can diminish their hold over their copyright because you can make it too generic and they lose their ability to defend the copyright.
Right.
So they like to nip that in the bud. Okay, so number two is basically you're too small to bother with. So they will just stay away unless, they've got someone sending off DMCA like letters, and that then again that's probably just for the trying to intimidate you. So basically you're too small to bother with because
it's not enough money involved in your...
Yeah, there's not enough money that they can get out of you. Courts are expensive for everyone, even big businesses. And not everyone can afford to sort of be tied up in lawsuits for days and days and days and days and days. So, yeah, and they'll collect the pittance from you, all that kind of stuff. So it's probably better to sort of... nope, that's gone out of my head. I can't go on with it. All right, so that's copyright. Anything else on that?
No, I think that's good. That's well covered. All
right. Let's talk about something else besides just direct copyright. Well, you were talking about Marvel films and that kind of stuff, and the problems there, like with Hulk and Spider-Man, which has been shifting between Marvel and Disney of late for various reasons.
Yes, still is. It looks like it's shifted back to Sony at the moment, as far as what I'm hearing. Sony has ended this.
Oh, go on.
Go ahead.
Not known for their good superhero films.
No, no, but they've had some successes lately with Venom, and then with the animated Spider-Man. They both did well, so I think that's part of the issue. They want their own cinematic universe, so they want Spider-Man. Since their cinematic universe is all based on Spider-Man secondary characters, I guess having Spider-Man in that universe is appealing. So I don't know. I'm hearing different things. Like, it's hard to say what's going to happen. Like, they might go back and let Spider-Man be in the Marvel movies, but we don't know. Hard to say.
Well, he already has appeared in a few of them.
Well, that was an agreement they had, yeah. But that agreement is now done. Whatever, the 6 movies or whatever it was Spider-Man appeared in. And they have not, from what I hear, they haven't renewed their agreement. So now Spider-Man is going back to Sony, and the next movie will be a Sony creation.
Starring Adam Sandler.
Well, they can use the same actor, but I don't know who cares about this really. You probably look up better sources on all this info. Yeah, that would be great if Sandler played J. Jonah Jameson. Or Aunt May, maybe.
And Aunt May.
Aunt May. Some others. He plays the Rhino.
The Rhino? That is a character. Okay, yeah. You're confusing me.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking of the Babe and who's going to play the pig, because that's where my wandering, sleepy mind took me.
We're still waiting to find out.
All right, what else can we talk? Well, actually, if we want to go off topic from copyright, I saw Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, or Spider-Man, the cartoon thing.
The Spider-Verse.
That's it.
I haven't seen it.
Spider-Verse. Everybody on my Facebook friends list who's seen it said, "Oh my god, this is a great film. This is awesome. This is so cool." I can't share in that. I found it just average. Really boring in places. Just
Didn't do much for you.
It didn't do much for me. I don't know why. It wasn't really
I
that.
don't know. Yeah, I've heard good things. I heard it was a success, but yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Maybe it's just all fans who like it. I don't know. It looked great visually. It had a nice kind of 2D, 3D effect. It looked really cool.
Does it go into alternate timelines and stuff? Is that what it's kind of about? Or no?
It does.
Okay.
You have, well, no, not really. Everyone's in the same timeline, but they're from different worlds.
Okay.
So, yeah, mostly that's how it is.
They use the Spider-Man 2099 character from the comics way back in the day, don't they?
What did that character look like?
It was a different design of a costume, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Probably.
But I think they use that character. I'm not in that world enough anymore to know.
There were 2 different normal Spider-Men, and the rest were all weird ones.
Okay, yeah. I think they did something like that in comics, all these clones or all these alternate things or something.
They end... Oh, I can't say that.
Spoiler!
Yeah, there's a spoiler about... Just wait till after the credits, it's funny. It's the funniest part in the film.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out at some point.
It's a fun film, generic, and definitely not special. It looked fantastic, so that's that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my digression.
Sweet. What else? I'm trying to think of anything recent that I've seen that has copyright-oriented or ownership. Interesting things going on there.
Are there?
Sorry?
Sorry, I just fell asleep.
Well, we should make this a shorter episode this time and let you
wrap it
crash out. Why torment yourself?
Yeah, it's not so much torment as that I'm messing things up. Just jeez,
just tormenting whoever's trying to listen, and I know I'm no help.
I'm tormenting you at the moment. What did I just say? God. All right.
But an interesting topic in any case.
Yes, copyright.
And bless you for powering through here.
Oh, stuttering through.
You're that tired. It's that late.
Oh,
but thank you, everybody. Shorter QUACKCAST.
Yeah.
Ozone Ocean has to sleep.
Yeah, copyright, dude.
Yes, copyright.
Do it. Copyright all the pigs on the photographic backgrounds with Captain America.
He's losing his mind.
Exactly.
He's talking gibberish.
All right.
All right, folks. Take care.